You want to set your price using a cost basis, what people call cost-driven pricing or also cost-plus pricing, then there is a challenge that all the people who know about management accounting are confronted with. The question is, which cost are you going to use? So the second reason why it is difficult to use cost is that you have to answer that question, which cost will you use as a basis in order to set your price? And if you know the basics of management accounting, you know that there are two approaches. One which you could call a partial cost approach, where you will use only some of the cost that you would subtract from the revenues, but not all of them. And conversely, there is an approach which is called the full cost approach. So the first one very often ends up using a cost classification in terms of behaviors, which consist in dividing the cost into variable and fixed cost, and you develop an analysis which is called cost volume profit analysis. So if we consider those costs, the variable ones, and if we try to set a price as a function of the cost, then let's imagine, for instance, that the variable cost per unit is 100. So my unit variable cost is 100, and we will consider that this unit variable cost is fixed, that regardless of the number of units you would buy at the same price. We could question that assumption, but let's consider it that way. The unit variable cost is going to be fixed. Then if I want to set my price using that information, I will say, for instance, let's imagine I want a 30% margin. I would say that my price would be 100 multiplied by 1 plus 30%. So it seems there is no difficulty for doing this. But of course, so doing, we don't know, in fact, if we are going to cover the cost that we excluded from our calculation. The cost that we excluded, namely the fixed cost, will they be covered, will they be absorbed by this price that we set minus the variable cost that we have also to cover? In other words, will the margin, which is called the contribution margin, be sufficient to cover the total fixed cost? Of course, that depends on the number of units that you are going to sell. But you are confronted with that difficulty of uncertainty about the fact that this price will really cover all the cost and let you achieve a profit.